The Vikings were a fierce and ferocious people that left an incredible mark on history. They were renowned for their prowess in battle, but did they use certain substances as part of their pre-battle ritual and everyday life? Recent research has revealed evidence to suggest that a certain Viking warrior class may have been consuming certain herbs and remedies before heading into battle. The Viking Age was a period of Scandinavian exploration, war and expansion that took place from the 8th to 11th century. During this time, the Viking warlords and sea kings travelled across Europe, reaching as far as North America, the Mediterranean and the Hellespont. The warrior classes I am speaking on are the Berserkers and Ulfhednar. However, much information regarding them is shrouded in mystery. How is it that so little is known about such prestigious fighters? Well, as Christianity became the dominant religion, many remnants of ancient Scandinavian culture were destroyed. Christianity slowly grew in Scandinavia during the 12th century, which eventually became the dominant religion. Sigurd the Crusader, the king of Norway, would even launch a Swedish crusade performed in the year 1123 to Christianize the region of Småland, a historic province in southern Sweden. While the rest of Sweden had become at least Christian by appearance in the 1080s, the province of Småland had experienced very little contact with Christianity and remained openly pagan in the 1120s, with the inhabitants still openly worshipping the Norse gods. Sigurd the Crusader made a pact with the King of Denmark to perform a crusade against Småland and force Christianity upon the pagans. Contemporary Swedish sources do confirm warfare between pagans and Norwegian crusaders. The Norwegian Crusader army reportedly successfully forced the inhabitants to submit to the Christian faith and brought many valuables with them back to Norway. As Christianity grew, so did pagan persecution. This is due to the fact that paganism was considered as blasphemous by the Christians during the Middle Ages, resulting in the loss of much information regarding Viking knowledge. Unfortunately for Norse historians, this means a lot of valuable knowledge was lost during the religious shift towards Christianity. So slowly, not only berserkers, but pagans as a whole would disappear. The beliefs of their ancestors became nothing but a memory, and many teachings, values and philosophies have been lost to time. Berserk is a term commonly associated with the Vikings. It was a state in which a warrior would lose control of themselves in a frenzied rage during battle. They would perceive themselves as invincible and would fight with an almost inhuman ferocity, regardless of the dangers that surrounded them. This berserker rage was believed to be induced by the use of certain substances, particularly hallucinogenic mushrooms such as the Amanita muscaria, or alcohol mixed with Henbane. The idea that the Vikings used drugs to enhance their strength and courage is not supported by concrete evidence. While there are accounts of the use of hallucinogens during religious ceremonies and rituals by other cultures, there is a lack of evidence for their use in Viking society. There is no confirmation to suggest that Vikings, particularly their shamans, used substances to alter their normal state. However, there are accounts of the use of psychoactive substances among other ancient cultures, such as the Greeks and Romans, as part of their religious and recreational practices. It is therefore plausible that the Vikings also used such remedies. Amanita muscaria is the famous mushroom with red caps and white dots. It is prevalent in folklore, often associated with spells, curses and rituals. It can induce psychedelic effects in those who consume it, although it is also toxic. Its psychoactive effects are due to two compounds: ibotenic acid, a neurotoxin that acts in the brain's glutamate receptors to produce an excitatory effect in the nervous system, and muscaria, a psychoactive chemical that can produce sedative, hypnotic, depressant and hallucinogenic effects. Combined, these two compounds induce a drunken state in which consumers of the mushroom often experience hallucinations as well as other neurologic effects. The ibotenic acid can act as a stimulant, producing the rage state associated with berserkers. A much more likely candidate for the substance which the Vikings used is the flowering plant called Henbane. Henbane, also known as hogsbean and stinking nightshade, is a hardy tall growing plant with an ominous looking flower. Dark vascular markings riddle its dull yellow petals, which converge in the flower's centre, creating a dark purple core. It is also frequently mentioned in European folklore, especially in the context of witches and dark magic. The plant originated in the Mediterranean and Baltic regions, but there is evidence to suggest that it was present in Scandinavia by the Roman Age. The plant has been associated with hallucinations, magical power, and miraculous ability. Henbane was historically used in a combination with other plants, such as mandrake, deadly nightshade, and datura. It would be used as an anesthetic potion for its psychoactive properties. These psychoactive properties include visual hallucinations and a sensation of flight. It was originally used in continental Europe, Asia, and the Arab world, though it did spread to England in the Middle Ages. However, Henbane was already being demonized as early as the late Middle Ages, when it became associated with witchcraft, so information on its use is scarce. Nevertheless, Henbane seeds have been found in a Viking grave in Denmark in 1977. This could suggest that the grave was that of a berserker who had used Henbane prior to battle. Evidence suggests that ancient Nordic and Germanic cultures consumed Henbane before battle to enhance physical strength, reduce pain sensitivity, and even increase aggression. It's also possible that some berserkers used Henbane in combination with other substances, such as psychedelic mushrooms, to achieve an even more intense state of frenzy. However, the exact details of how these warriors ingested the plant still need to be clarified due to a lack of archaeological evidence. The drinking culture of the Vikings is one of the few aspects of Scandinavian culture that both archaeology and literature agree on. Medieval Norse Icelandic sagas are literally filled with tales of mead drinking, ale brewing, and beautiful Valkyries serving refreshments to fallen warriors in Valhalla. Mead is one of the world's oldest alcoholic drinks, and it goes back to Neolithic times. It is made from the blending of honey with water, along with any other flavourful and medicinal plants that can be desired. For the Norse though, mead was associated with Odin. One of the most well-known stories of Odin was how he stole the mead of poetry, whereupon drinking it, he gained the gift of understanding and creating the most treasured Norse art form, as whoever drank the mythical beverage would immediately become a skald or scholar. This is another reason why the interlocking horns of Triskel are one of Odin's symbols. It is said that the great poets were blessed by Odin and shared his mead, while less talented poets only got the spittle that Odin dropped behind. Though drinking can be a mundane part of everyday life for the Vikings, it could also be an essential part of ceremonies and rituals. Another substance that has been suggested is cannabis. The Vikings had contact with the Islamic world as early as the 8th century, and it is possible that they were introduced to cannabis through trade or raiding. However, there is no evidence to support this theory. On a secluded Iron Age farm in southern Norway, archaeological findings show that it was common to cultivate cannabis in the Viking Age. The question is how the Vikings used the fibres, seeds and oil from this versatile plant. Analysis show that in the period between the years 650 and 800, which was the beginning of the Viking Age, hemp was cultivated on the remote mountain farm. Hemp is the same plant as the cannabis plant, used for hashish production. It is, however, uncertain whether the Vikings used it as a drug, The plant was most likely used for production of textiles and ropes, as there are no sources to confirm or deny their recreational use of this substance or medicine. To conclude, the Vikings would no doubt use recreational substances, such as alcohol and perhaps psychedelics frequently due to their Norse pagan beliefs. Hallucinogens would be used during religious ceremonies, and alcohol would be used during a celebration, with some drinks being associated with the gods themselves. Nevertheless, the spread of Christianity has left us without much knowledge, as these pagan practices have been lost to time, and all we have left are archaeological evidence and old stories from the Norse and Icelandic sagas. How the Vikings would attain the state of the Berserker and Ulfhednar are still a mystery, but I break down many of the elements in my video on these legendary warrior classes here. Be sure to check them out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all soon for another History Profile.